Zero. We'll have Olivier Pren, François Planchot, and Cornelia Lux from Ariane Group, who will be presenting this keynote. I have the CVs of two of them. So Olivier Pren is Chief Engineer in the Innovation Directorate at Ariane Group in France. His career began in software engineering in 1995, where he had a technical steering role on the creation of the Ariane 5 rocket. In 2000, he joined then EADS. In 2015, he joined the new Ariane Group Innovation Directorate with responsibility to identify, implement, and disrupt projects and new business opportunities. Today, as chief, he's in charge of identifying and increasing maturity of the promising digital cutting-edge innovation for products and manufacturing to reach Ariane Group's 2030 vision. He acts as innovation advisor into the Factory 4.0 project, which perfectly qualifies him for his keynote, of course. The second one is François Planchot. He's project leader in the Factory 4.0 project at Ariane Group, which aims at introducing smart technologies into factories for an end-to-end digital continuity with an emphasis on standardization and continuous awareness on cybersecurity. Perfect. And from Cornelia, I unluckily don't have a CV, but I'm sure she brings in also fantastic expertise. I'm very happy of having you three here today for the keynote.
Good morning, everybody. So firstly, we are very delighted to be here with you today and to share, to participate to this event. So we will present to you what we are doing today into Ariane Group. So and firstly, what is about our challenges on the way for our deployment for Factory 4.0. So the presentation will be made with François Planchot and Cornelia Lux, as you presented just before. I have to switch on the good screen. So as an agenda, a few points. So a short company presentation, then context and vision of what we are doing and where we go. Then François and Cornelia will dive into the Factory 4.0 project, and then we will come back on challenges and some takeaways, then Q&A. So concerning the company profile, we are at Ariane Group, one of the world leader in access to space, so space transportation. We are about 9,000 employees spread in France and Germany. We are joint venture at 50-50 Airbus and Safran, and our revenue are about 3 billion euro. And our main products are for civil activities, the Ariane family, so Ariane 5, 6, and launch services. And for defense, the M51 program, so it is a rocket that we have in two French submarines. And we provide also equipment for civil defense, and we have some activities into specific infrastructure. If we speak a little bit about Ariane 6, so our future launcher, it is a very versatile launcher that we are designing and we will manufacture to be able to satisfy all missions that we could have and that we have by our customers. There will be two versions, so 62 and 64, depending of the number of boosters that we have to use to spread to launch the satellite in orbit. And the maximum weight that we have to that the launcher will be able to launch is 10 tons up to now, and the first launch is foreseen next year in 2021. So, what is the context of Ariane Group today? Because it is important for us to explain why what we are coming from, for you to understand why we are doing something and why we don't. So firstly, we are a French-German company, and our employees and factories are spread in these two countries. So we have non-connected factories together up to now. So we have more and more competitive pressure. So we have to, it is normal, it's life. We have to continuously improve our process, our method, our product. We have big evolution of the market since a few years with the constellation, internet constellation. So the need of the customer. So we want to come back to the moon globally, worldly, globally, all states. And there are some also space forces wanted by US, Europe, and some others. So all this will give new business opportunities and will change our decades way of businesses. Obviously, there are new competitors because access to space becomes more easy. Technology are more affordable, and new businesses comes. So there are, let's say, more pressure, more business, but also more competitors with new businesses. So we have to adapt. And for that, we need to stay agile. Agile for us means to be able to to adapt quickly, to be able to adapt quickly our products and our factories. So it is the context, the starting point. The vision that we have on the path is that the main competitive company today must use data to leverage their business and their product, their quality, etc. So we need to go into a data-driven company, because to take the good decision and to use new technology like IE and cloud computing and all this cutting edge technology, we need to have data, and for that we need to set up a lot of things, including data lake, and we need to feed this data lake with devices, IoT, smart IoTs, etc. So to get this data. The second point is very important, is the once again agility, so the capacity to react and to adapt quickly, product and also the factories. Today we have factories to produce launchers, one type of launchers, but we have to organize differently our factories. And it is a very important subject to stay competitive. So the way to go is very long. So we are starting since a few years Factory 4.0 projects. We will speak later, and we have at the middle of the road a checkpoint, because this project have to be continued by another and to reach around 2030 vision. And it's not a straight road. Certainly that between now and 2030 we will have to adapt, and we will see a longer road. So we can say that we have 3 steps. So the first step was the past. We have a NICT IT system due our history, because we are joint venture, so we have different information systems. We have a NICT factory. They are working alone, not connected all together. And we have some digital factories, but moderated, not very digitalized end to end. So it is the situation. Then, since few years, we are setting up the foundations. So we have to adapt our IT architecture to host the new capabilities. It means that we have to work into our information system, operating system, and to be, in any case, it is mandatory to be cyber security compliant, and in an end-to-end way. Because as we've seen in previous keynotes and if there is a way for hacker to enter, it will be done. So we have to protect our systems anyway, including IoTs, etc. So we have to introduce new tools, because Factory 4.0 can't work alone, and we need to introduce some big tools like MES, which is a manufacturing execution system, and PLM, which is a product life manager, to support all this digital stuffs. Obviously, we have the Factory 4.0, and Cornelia and François will speak about just after. And we have to connect all the factories with Chef Orchestra to pilot them. And we have also to continue to skill the team to be able to manage this new technology, which are spread and which will continue to be spread in all the companies. And the next step is today what we can call the deep digital. So the idea is really to go in very data-driven company, We will use very deep digitalization each step and in each case that we think that it is valuable. We can use also the real-time data lake. Obviously, we have the digital twin, which is something continuing after the Factory 4.0. We will use at the maximum analytics and AI, even in IoT if relevant. We need the clouds, and there are some initiatives in Europe now to have the sovereign cloud that we need for military and very critical activities. And obviously, once again, we need to be flexible. We need to have factory able to produce and to be able to be adapted according to a product that we have to make to comply with our customer needs. So I give the floor to François and Cornelia to give more detail and dive into the Factory 4.0.
Okay, thank you, Olivier. Thanks for welcoming us this morning. My name is François Planchot, and I'm the project manager of the Factory 4.0 project at ArianeGroup. And so in the next slides, I'm going to try to present you what we are currently working on, and also to share with you the first achievements we can have in the factories, and also give some experience feedback on the way we manage to do it. So first, maybe let's come back to the definition of the Factory 4.0. So as all of you know already, it's about the fourth industrial revolution. So definitely it's about technology and connection interactions with the information system. But at ArianeGroup, we want to put the emphasis on the real need to make to put together the machines, the information system, and before all the people. So this is really something very important from our perspective, to always keep in mind this human dimension in what we do, making sure that what we bring will make the life of people easier, and also to make sure that we will get the proper adoption of our solutions at the end. So if we look at the objective of the project, is relatively a standard objective for such a project. We can look at 4 pillars at the moment. So it's to make people focus on their value-added tasks, or said other way, to get rid as much as possible of non-value-added tasks, simply skipping them, or making automation as much as possible. Then it's to provide means and tools in order to support quick and efficient decisions. So it goes through a well understanding of situations, and then having the proper means to take the right decisions. Then it's about doing right first time. So when a task or an operation is made, making sure that we'll not have to come back on it later on. It's a matter of efficiency and productivity, but also comes with the fourth pillar, which is about reliability first of our industrial processes, and at the end, the reliability of the products. Overall, it's to digitally transform our factories for improving performance, efficiency, security, and quality. At ArianeGroup, because of our business, we got some specificities that we need to take into account when we want to go towards the Factory 4.0 direction. So it's directly linked to our business and makes a big difference compared to the automotive industry, for instance, but even from aeronautic industry. So first of all, we are in a highly critical business from security, safety, and confidentiality perspective. So everyone is talking about security of data, security of systems, but there is no way on our side, according to the products we manipulate and that is expected, we must be 100% sure that everything will go fine. Then second, we are talking about very low volumes of products every year. Just a few units are produced every year, which means that from a return on invest perspective, we cannot expect to get amortization of our investments through big volumes. So we need to pay big attention to that, of course, as we need to be a profitable business like any other. We cannot afford any failure of even a single product. A failure could be, of course, the complete destruction of the product, but it goes also, it goes also to make sure that the mission is well performed until the end. Then the product we are dealing with takes a long time to be developed and then to be produced, and then the definition lasts for quite a long time. So although we are in the position to introduce modifications over time, of course, when we do so, being for the product itself or for the associated processes, we need to pay big attention that we do not introduce any issues in our production system. And last but not least, a full traceability is required for every piece of product, and as much as possible up to the part level. Then this drawing depicts the digital end-to-end continuity that we are looking for. And definitely the first mission of the Factory 4.0 project at the moment is to irrigate the data and make sure that we can provide access to fresh and in real time to data to any person in the shop floors or in any other place of the company. So it means the introduction of connectivity wherever necessary, which could be standard wired connections before all for the machines, but also the introductions of wireless communication means in our shop floors. And just Wi-Fi has required a lot of time and energy to make it possible. Simply because, of course, we had to be very serious in regards to cybersecurity aspects, but also making sure that we keep safe people, products, and industrial means at any time, and that we had to make sure that radio waves may not generate any issues at any time. Then the digital continuity goes as or follows the physical streams from our suppliers to our different factories, and then at the end to the launch pad, and in direct connections with our partners and customers. There is another dimension that I wanted to highlight also. It's the connection between the factories and the design offices. Where we are also looking for both direction digital continuity. So when we are talking about the Factory 4.0 project at ArianeGroup, we should actually speak about a portfolio of projects. And in order to develop these projects, we follow the process I'm going to describe you right now. So most of the time it starts from an identified use case somewhere where we see the potential to be fixed or enhanced using Factory 4.0 solutions. So from these ideas, we start with a phase so-called the proof of efficiency phase, where we are going to experiment and verify that the idea is really the right one. And so to check that from an operational perspective, there is an interest, but in the meantime, to also check that from a technical perspective, we have a chance to integrate. And last but not least, to also verify that there is an interesting return on invest. most of the time from financial perspective, but in some cases, it can also be for quality or security aspects. Then, if this proof of efficiency is successful, which is not the case all the time, we also take the freedom to stop some activities if we believe that we should do so. But then when it is successful, we go to the industrialization phase. So the idea here is to look at the full industrialization. Is it better now?
Okay, now it's good.
Good. Everything is coming back to a good shape. Okay, so I can continue with the industrialization phase. So this is a very important one, as it is about to proceed to the integration of the solution into our IT landscape from an IT perspective and into operational routines from a factory perspective. Of course, we also take into account at this stage the cybersecurity aspects to make sure that everything will go fine. Besides technical aspects, we also work on the training and the preparation of operators to use these solutions later on, which we so-called the change management activities. And then once the solution is ruggedized enough and prepared to be introduced into our shop floors, we look for the deployment. So first we start with the deployment where we perform the proof of efficiency, and we continue as much as possible to other places where similar use cases has been identified and where it makes sense to also introduce it. And then later on, we also manage to provide the regular updates to the factories in order to enhance the solution and make it even more useful. And of course, also taking feedback from first operational experience and making sure that it will even be more. On the pictures, you can see some examples of solutions that we have put in place already. So you can see automatic visual inspection. You can see augmented reality. You can see some tools for digital visual management. So this is for the small ones. You can see you can see a part that has been produced in metallic additive layer manufacturing, and you can also see automated guided vehicle that we use to handle big parts. So here, for instance, you got a liquid oxygen tank, and just to give you an order of magnitude, it's a thin aluminium shape of 5.4 meters of diameter. Need to go to the next page. I think I lost the control on the slide, so if you can move to the next one, please. Thank you. No, backwards, please. Yes, perfect. And so here, according to the process I just introduced, we are building at the same time a portfolio of standard solutions so that are well packaged and that can be reused as much as necessary in all our places. So we got here you can see the different families of solutions we got in our catalog. So it's about wireless technologies to have well-validated solutions in place. So as I said before, it can be about Wi-Fi, it can be also about Bluetooth, but we have also introduced some IoT communication solutions like Sigfox and LoRa. And we start to look at some other technologies like 5G and hopefully also Li-Fi for areas where radio waves may not be a solution in any case. Sorry. Then we got a portfolio of collaborative robots, so-called cobots. So it can be AGV like you saw before, but also more standard arms to support operators in their activities. It's about the introduction of connected tools that are directly interacting with the information system. Cornelia is going to come back on it in a minute. We are introducing RFID technology, so small tags on products and also tools and the information that goes with it in order to manipulate right the corresponding information. It's about connecting in a secure way all the industrial means we got in our factories. First, to feed the manufacturing execution system, which is the production orchestrator, but also to start to introduce predictive maintenance things in order to improve the availability of the machines while reducing their cost of use. We got different solutions related to image processing, like augmented reality and automatic visual inspections. We have a large set of sensors that we use to equip machines as add-ons to get some more data from the machines, but also to monitor environmental parameters in the factories. And last but not least, to also track our assets while they are on their way between our factories. We got remote systems, so-called remote launch centers, in order to allow people to interact from remote with the French Guiana. So it's really to make comfortable use of new technologies while reducing the cost of travels. We got different tools about supervision and visual management at large. And also we have worked a lot already on additive layer manufacturing, validating materials, machines for metallic production, and also all processes and best practices that are necessary to make all this work properly. I now give the floor to Cornelia, who will show you in some more details some examples of what we put in place.
Thank you, François. Can you hear me? Welcome
Yes.
from the slides. Okay, perfect. So my name is Cornelia Lux, and I'm working with François on the Factory 4.0 topic within the Ariane Group. I'm the work group leader for smart devices, and you have heard a lot about the different technologies we plan to introduce within our factories. And now I'd like to give you a bit more details about 3 use cases we want to deploy in order to digitalize our factory and to track and manage our supply chain. So this is the first topic is the implementation of connected hand tools. What you can see on the picture on the right hand side is the rough layout we have on the shop floor. The objective is to have connected tools and all the information which is needed for the operation, the talking process, like talk values, etc., is coming from our manufacturing execution system. So the connected tools can be programmed with a tightening station. All the instructions go from our MES to the connected tools, and later on, after the talking process, we can also bring reports from the connected tools to the manufacturing execution system, so that we have, in the end, a paperless working process. No more paper on the shop floor. We do not need to write down any talk values. We get it automatically from the tools back to our system, which eases the inspection routines and the traceability of talk values. And also we can track which tool is used for which process. So in case of failures, we can easily see which tools have been used and what could be the problem. So for problem management in the end, if necessary, but usually not, because first time right is the objective, as you already heard from François as well. So, but what are the other advantages of connected tools implementation? It's some of them are listed on the left-hand side. So we have got accurate values. We've got constant repeatability. And by the programming of the connected tools, we have also a reduction of errors. So because the operator does not have to bring the torque value to the torque range, but it's automatically programmed. So just to mention some of with the implementation of connected hand tools in our shop floor. What the major objective for our company is that we have harmonized processes on each side. So not only single use cases or applications which are different and side by side. The objective is to standardize our processes, the tools, and that we use all the same tools on each side, also to ease and standardize, harmonize the processes. So the next use case is asset tracking and the usage of RFID. So the plan is to have a tracker on the parts and also on the containers in order to allow us to know where are the parts, where are the containers, and also to have to be able to measure different key performance indicators. For example, how long does it take to ship or to transport parts from our suppliers to us? Where are the parts?
I think we lost Cornelia.
Technology is always joking.
Yes.
Yeah,
It shows how it happens in the real life, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm super happy that it's almost everything is working now. That's really good. Yeah, so people, you can already think about questions. I saw that some started already putting it to the chat, so very good.
Okay, so that's a pity that we lost Cornelia, but maybe I'm gonna finish to present the examples. Hopefully she will come back for the last one. So yes, we introduced asset tracking solutions, which is based on Sigfox long-range communication. And so it allows us to know where our containers at any time. And it makes a big difference first to make sure that the suppliers we rely on provide do what they are supposed to do. And the second challenge is really to look for the optimization of the fleet. So to reduce the number of containers we need to ship our products from one place to the other. So between the factories in Europe, being our own or the factories of the suppliers, and then for the transportation of all the products to French Guiana for the launch. I think we can move to the last examples, to the last example we wanted to share with you this morning. If you can help me to move to the next page, because I lost the control on my computer. Okay, thank you very much. So it's about augmented reality and the possibility also to perform operations from remote. So here we take information from the 3D model that is stored into the PLM. To make it short, we are talking about CATIA files that then we can inject into some devices. And then that allows operators to have a quick understanding of the situation in an immersive way, so having direct interactions with real life. So it's just all about augmented reality. The difficulty here, it's really to make end-to-end connectivity between the tablets you can see on the pictures and the rest of the information system. So it could appear very simple, but I can tell you that in our tense conditions, it has been quite a long journey to make it happen correctly. Maybe you are surprised to see that we are using tablets instead of some smart glasses. Actually, we propose the operators to also make a try with such smart glasses, but in practice, it's more useful for them to interact with tablets than this kind of glass. And also with the tablets, they are able to have additional interactions with the information system. So definitely, it's a way to be more efficient, having more direct access to up-to-date information, not any paper-based information that may be obsolete at the time of the operation is conducted. Also to deal with or to play with the different configurations we got to take into account. And at the end, it's to improve the lead time while reducing the cost of operations. And this, we can do it locally in our European factories, but we also use it to interact from remotes between people in Europe and others on the field in French Guiana. So these are the examples, a few examples we wanted to share with you to go into a little bit more detail. And now Olivier is going to present you the conclusion of this presentation before we go to some questions and answers.
Okay, thank you, François. So to sum up the situation, in fact, there are 4 big dimensions that we have to manage to success in our deployment. Because so we will start. So there is a lot of things in the slide, but we will start with technology. So first thing to know is obviously technology is very important, but as said François before, we will not always take the cutting edge technology. We'll only take the technology which provide value and which work in our context. So technology is an enabler, but it's not the only thing that we need to achieve a project. Concerning the technology, Factory 4.0, in fact, is a myth. It doesn't exist. We have to do it by ourselves. We have to identify our needs, identify the supplier, subcontractor that we will work with. We have to adapt. Often, when we discuss about cybersecurity for devices on IoT, the situation is very different between what the supplier said and what our cybersecurity ask us to the level of cybersecurity that we need to have. So we need to it's like Lego. We have to select, integrate, test, adapt, etc. So it is the first thing. Secondly, technology introduce a lot of evolution in the company. So it's because we are end-to-end, from engineering methods, and not only manufacturing and people in the factories, and obviously into IT and OT, because OT will emerge more and more. We speak a lot about IT, but less about OT. And obviously, all must be cyber compliant. So it is the technology part, but it's not enough to success. The other point that we've seen with all the Factory 4.0 team, it's that obviously human factor is really very important. Human factor at the large scale. So we need to support all people involved in the project are all users, because it is our customer, internal customer. It is everybody and guys into the factory, and we have to to support the change, to train. Human beings don't like change, so we have to reassure them, and we have to support in a broad sense. So we have to learn. Everybody have to learn and to change to a data mindset. So it is easy to say, not so easy to do. And embrace new practices. It's part of the change. And there is a new component since a few years now. It's legal, so it is the data privacy, because IoTs and everything goes more deeply into what is doing everyone. So we have to take care and manage that. Well, cybersecurity, we spoke a lot. It is very, very important. It is mandatory. We have to protect our system. It has to be end-to-end, and it concerns IT and OT. And it's not easy to manage. And the last, but not the less important, it's finance and value. As said, François, we have small cadences. So the payback is very, we have to take care to the payback, because we are not in automotive industry, so we have to take care of that. We have to take care of the value. If we are doing something, does it represent a good value for us, for internal customer, for shareholders, for the elite, for the competitiveness, and for our and it is the principal things. It is for our external customers, so our clients. And François has to manage with the team all these things to be able to succeed in the challenge. So technology is very important, but the message is that it's not enough. And if we have not these 4 components, the project will fail. So we have to find a good balance. And as a takeaway for 4 things. So Factory 4.0 is really a key mandatory foundation to reach what we want to achieve in 2040. Even if we don't have all the past, and we will have to adapt during the years coming. And it is only the visible tip of the iceberg, because Factory 4.0 alone, it doesn't work. Factory 4.0 needs to be supported by a lot of things around it, in IT, with process, with investment and of people. So it is very, very important. So it is, when you speak about Factory 4.0, it's just a part of the iceberg. So it is like a team marathon, and François and all the team we have all test this. It is really something. It's like a marathon. It's all together, and if you are alone, you can't achieve that. So it's a long duration project that you have seen. If you remember the timeline, it is about 15 years of process to achieve, and certainly more. It is more or less, but it is a continuous improvement and continuous adaptation of our industry to the market and to the need. It is also, as you have seen, and we have tried to show you, it is a very deep transformation of not only the material, but also the spirit of the company. So it takes time. And every employees will be a day and another impacted by the Factory 4.0 and supported project like digital project. So as said just in the slide just before, it is a complex project. And we have to deal with several dimensions: finance, cyber, human, technical. So it is a huge project, but it's a very interesting journey, and it's a fascinating journey. So I think we are the Q&A. So thank you all for listening, and ready for the question.
Okay, welcome back. I'll just close this window. Okay, very good. So I hope you enjoyed your breakout sessions. As usual, I take the privilege of asking the first question. And the first question is, it seems that there's a trend at the moment to include more and more open source technology into the development of space components. So to which extent does this change the way you're working? Did you use it before as well? And does it have any effects on the security considerations that you have?
So when we are talking about open source topic, I think we need to differentiate the product itself from the production system we put around and the associated information system. So for both of them, we from time to time we assess the opportunity to onboard some open source things. But before all, the more visible part at the moment, it's on the information system part. And when it makes sense, we definitely consider it as an option. Before all, you need to know that most of the time when we introduce something, we expect to rely on something that is already mature on the market. So we take the benefit to get what the ecosystem is able to provide us. And so if the solution onboards open source solution, then we also take it. Something that needs to be kept in mind beyond the open source considerations in particular is that we can see a big trend on the space market to go from a very sophisticated and unique solution to more commercial available ones. And as explained by Olivier in introduction, this is a big trend on the market because of this possibility now to use reliable commercial and off-the-shelf product. It opens to more competition. And of course, we also have to consider it in order to stay in the race.
Mm-hmm. Okay, very good.
Just to add, in addition on what said François, we have also to take care about open source because as we are in a commercial activity, so we can't do everything. And what we've seen with François, it's that in particular for IoT, industrial doesn't take enough into account cybersecurity aspects. So when we want when we see something very interesting for us, and when we try to get more information about and to see if it fits really with our system, technology system and context, often we have to stop because or to adapt, and sometimes adaptation is very costly. So it is, but anyway, it is something that we want to go to use things on the shelf.
Mm-hmm. Okay, very good. Then I hand over to Nicolas for the questions.
We have a lot of questions in the chat, so we try to put them. So maybe the first I can ask is about the technologies. So there are two questions related to technologies. One is why Wi-Fi compared to other technologies in Industry 4.0, and the other one is what about 3D printing? Is it something that you are using and useful for development?
Marc Oliver, the sound is not very good for us. Can you try to re-ask the question for us, please?
Okay, so the
You want to try again?
it is better now.
Is it better now?
A bit better.
Let's try again.
Is the battery still working?
I tried like this. Better.
Okay, could be better. Yes, let's try.
So the question was about the technologies, about the advantages of Unity and why Unity for the technology, and about the 3D printing. Is it a technology that you are using to prototype or go faster with the idea that you have on the development data?
Okay. So if I heard well, so there was one question related to LEFI and the other one about 3D printing.
Exactly.
So yes, okay. So I will leave Olivier answer the LEFI part because I'm sure he will be very happy to do so. No, really, I can do so, but I'm sure he will be very happy. And I can answer for the 3D printing. So most of the time we speak before about additive layer manufacturing. So not just to play with the words, but it's really to speak about industrial means that are able to produce metallic parts. So we are talking about machines that are between $500,000 and €1 million in terms of price, and that allow us to produce directly parts that will fly afterwards. So it opens opportunity to be agile in our development activities and be in a more regular update of our products while making sure that we got the proper reliability of the production at the end. So very interesting flexibility for us and well adapted to the small volumes we have to produce. Then we can also speak about 3D printing. So I would say more traditional ones like we can see on some desktops. So we also use it for rapid prototyping and to be able to fill parts very early in the process. Then for this, let's say, plastic 3D printing or plastic-based 3D printing, it's only for prototyping and also to be noted for some tooling stuff. So when we are developing some products, we need to organize the things in order to conduct the proper assembly. And we use 3D printing to have the right platform in place to make easier the assembly. So 3D printing for rapid prototyping, for tooling, and then for real production, it's metallic additive layer manufacturing. So Olivier, if you want to continue.
Yeah, just François, can you re-ask a question to me? I have not catch everything.
It's just a question about the LEFI and the difference with Wi-Fi. Why going to LEFI?
Yeah, okay. Thank you, François. So the idea is to say that we will spread at the maximum the Wi-Fi into the computer because it is more affordable. Wi-Fi is too recent. But the thing is that
Olivier, maybe you can remind everyone what is Li-Fi. Maybe it's obvious for most, but
so because Li-Fi is light fidelity, so it's the same thing but Wi-Fi, but it's not the microwave, but it is the wave of the light. So there are no electromagnetic waves. So it is concerning cyber security and concerning ANSSI, which is a French, let's say, organization who can give some advice, who gives some advice about the technology. The fact is that if you use wave, you can go through the wall and the building. So it's difficult to stop a wave. But Li-Fi, so it's light. So when you have wall and no windows or things. So it is okay. So what we want to do, and what explained François before in the slide, is when the Wi-Fi will not be available for cyber constraints, and if the value is good, because we want to achieve our end-to-end connectivity, even for military or for some areas for civil. Because when you have wave, sometimes with some gas, it's not possible. So we are looking for Li-Fi, and Li-Fi is mature, but let's say for now a bit expensive. So it is a very good alternative to Wi-Fi, and we will use it also for the launcher itself, for our products. We are working on this. We will see what happens in the years coming, but it is also an innovation activity that we have, and give us some competitiveness, because we can remove all the link for data connection, for example, for connector between some parts. So
Your sound is a little bit breaking, but it's like you put something on the speaker. This is how it sounds.
is it okay?
It's okay now.
Okay. So, but I had finished just to say that Wi-Fi is a good alternative to Wi-Fi in some cases for gas, because and for cybersecurity when we can't use waves.
Mm-hmm.
Another question regarding the international implantation of Ariane, especially in France and Germany. So we have a question: if you see a difference on how different people adopt new technologies, especially in Industry 4.0, there are a lot of technologies that are pushed to the workers. And the question is, do you have trouble to make people adopt the technology or use new way of working and stuff like this?
So that's a very important aspect, adoption, as you said. And change management is really at stake when we're dealing with Factory 4.0 things. So as an engineer, we can be very happy to make some technology push. But at the end, if the users are not prepared to use them, nothing will happen. And so from the very beginning, we look very carefully to involve use afterwards the solution, and that all together we can demonstrate the added value that it will bring as much as possible for themselves, but also to demonstrate the added value for the overall process, and so the interest the interest for them to contribute to the overall efficiency of our activities. So I would say it's early onboarding of people, trying to elaborate with them the solution. But of course, at the time we do the first experiment, we cannot go with all the company, with all the places where we will have to deploy afterwards. So it's also an important step to learn and see how we can duplicate afterwards in other places. And so then it's also a matter to see some, let's say, positive agents that will be our ambassadors in the factories and will advertise on our own. On our behalf, we will advertise on our behalf towards colleagues to make things happen. Definitely, if people are not onboarded, it will not work at the end. This is for granted.
Another thing about the methodology in Ariane. So you were saying in the presentation, I think several times, that you want to do it right first time. And we have a question about this idea of trying to do it right the first time and the agile principles where the method here is more based on the fail, learn, and try again.
Yeah, so that's a very good question and a key one. I saw it in the chat also. I wanted to answer it. So I think we need to differentiate the time of developments or the time for developments from the time for production. And when we talk about doing right first time, it's to making sure that when we go to production, we got a reliable process in place and that everything will happen as expected. And that we will not have to come back afterwards to take into account some mistakes that could have been avoided. So doing right first time, it's before all related to production, but then it means that through the development activities, we can go with several iterations and allow ourselves to make mistakes, and what we do from time to time, of course, like any others. And then really the time to put things in place or to modify it, then to modify them later on. But once something is in place, we need to make sure that there is no bias in what has been introduced. Or if for some reasons a bias is there, then we need also to have the agility to correct it as soon as possible to come back to a fluid process.
We have a few more questions, but I don't know if we still have time.
Yeah, so I would say let's do 1 to 2 more questions and then we stop it.
So the question on the way you again incorporate technology as a ingredient, do you focus on market-oriented strategy or technology-oriented strategy? When you talk about the description.
I'm not sure that I've catched your question. The sound is not very good.
No.
So maybe Mark Oliver, you catch it better than us, and you could repeat. As an incumbent, do you focus on market-oriented strategy or technology-oriented to tackle digital disruption? So before all, we got, I don't know exactly, I'm not sure that I will say the one or the other in the answer. Before all, we have an active watch on what's going on the market, and we intend to catch as much as possible solutions that are considered as already mature, at least to a certain extent. And even doing so, we realize quite often that when we really want to integrate them in an industrial way, there are still quite a lot of work to do in order to really get the proper level of maturity, particularly for all what is concerning cyber security aspects. So definitely we are not looking for high technology push. It's before all to look for the solutions that can be appropriate in our environment, and where we got from the beginning a certain understanding that it will benefit to our users, starting with the operators in the factories. I see the Factory 4.0 project as a function in the company to take solutions that are already considered mature outside and make them mature in our very specific environment. And then in the meantime, we got colleagues on the R&D side who are more preparing the future, also working with some external companies, including, of course, startups and also universities to prepare the next steps, starting from a lower level of maturity and then make them grow. So one day I could take over on that once as well.
Okay, so thank you very much. It was great having you on with the discussion. You have seen that people were super interested. I loved your keynote, so thank you very much for joining us.